back here for another movie review, and this time I am reviewing the new movie Y2K, directed by Kyle Mooney, directed and written by him along with someone else as well. Evan Winter is his name. And if you are unfamiliar with this movie, it is about two high school nobodies making the decision to crash the last major celebration before the new millennium on New Year's Eve 1999. And this was a movie that I was pretty mildly interested in. The trailers haven't really done much for me with this movie. Kyle Mooney, I believe this is his first movie that he has directed. And there is some spots where that shows. There's also some positives with this movie as well. It's not a complete bad movie, I don't think. But I will go ahead and say right from the top, I did not enjoy this movie as much as I was wanting to. And with some of the things that I did like about this movie, I was really hoping it could have been better by the time I got done with it. This movie is also starring Rachel Zegler as Laura, Julian Dennison as Danny. You also get Kyle Mooney in here as Garrett, Eduardo Franco as Farkas in here, and I believe he is from Stranger Things. I believe he is the homie from season 4 that I really appreciated, Argyle. I thought he was really fun in that show, and he brings some different kind of fun to this movie, but he was also really fun in here. So you got a nice little mix of young actors in this movie, and I really did like that aspect of this movie. I did think that pretty much all the actors in this movie did a good job with what they're given. Some of the positives, I did think it did a fairly nice job at times of throwing back to kind of that 2000s comedy movie vibe. They definitely lean into Superbad here with the two main characters in this. So you can see, and even the way they interact with each other, you got that kind of awkward, kind of vile humor at times that they did in Superbad with Michael Cera and of course Jonah Hill's character. And so you see the parallels there they're trying to make while also making this kind of funny comedy disaster movie that we've really seen before, but just focusing of course on this whole Y2K event. And for me, just involving this whole Y2K thing, I was born in 1998, so I was too young at the time to know what the fuck was going on when all this shit was happening. So it was interesting being, not too overly young, but obviously didn't remember what was going on, to see kind of this event play out in these comedic moments here in this movie. I thought it was pretty interesting just from that level. As far as the humor with this movie, it was very hit and miss, to be kindly with this. There was a lot of the humor that just didn't really work much for me. The characters overall, I think it's interesting because there's certain moments in this movie where I'm endeared to the characters, especially the main two here that we're following in this. And Rachel Zegler does also, again, a good job with what she's given, but the main thing that this movie really tries to focus on is this potential romantic relationship between Rachel Zegler's character and Jaden Martell, I believe, who plays the main lead character, Eli. They really try to push that this is going to be something that's going to happen and that this is very meant to be, but I just didn't feel like they had any good chemistry at all in this movie. Every scene they were in, it felt like it was very much being pushed, and like I was very aware I was watching actors just in a scene here. I never really got immersed in them being young kids, having fun, going to this party on this night where this Y2K event's happening. I just didn't really buy their chemistry, and it's really nothing, again, necessarily negative to say about Rachel Zegler or Jaden Martell here. It's just, I just didn't buy the chemistry, and that's what a lot of the movie leans on, especially as you get into the second and third act of this movie, is that, oh yeah, they're finally going to get together in this a really great moment, and I just didn't buy it. And when the humor's not quite hitting on a lot of levels, it wasn't necessarily that the humor was completely bad or off. It just, for some reason, it didn't hit on a lot of it. I had a good chuckle and a few laughs out loud throughout the movie. It wasn't a complete dud. I wasn't bored throughout the whole thing. The movie moves fairly quick enough, but also there are a couple times, though, where I'm like, okay, the movie's not working for me enough for me to be as patient in certain moments, again, when they're really trying to push this whole romantic relationship here. They also try to throw a few surprises here in this movie. About halfway through the movie, there's supposed to be a big surprise, and because I just didn't really know the characters that well, like, again, in comparison to a movie like Superbad, they're able to, with the writing of that movie and how funny it is, you're endeared to the characters almost immediately in that movie, with Jonah Hill and Michael Cera's character. And then once you get to the more emotional parts of that movie, when, they're having, high school issues, young people problems, but you do feel the emotion when they're arguing and they're having that fight at that last party they're going to in that movie. Whereas in this, they try, again, to replicate that formula in a way, but they don't do a well enough job at the beginning of the movie getting me endeared to the main characters. So when there's this big surprise that happens, again, not spoiling it, about halfway through the movie, they try to have this pretty big emotional moment, and I just didn't really feel it that much. And it felt like they were really trying to go for it in a way there for this comedy movie, and it was just so goofy at times that didn't work for me that well. So when they tried to get into the emotions, I wasn't as endeared to the characters, and so I just wasn't as invested as I could be, and that's where it kind of goes off into the second and third act. And not spoiling anything, but there is I'll say a surprise cameo in this movie if you haven't seen who it is yet, which I just thought did not really work much at all. I have nothing against the person that makes the cameo in this movie. It just personally went on too long. I mean, not to say that the person wasn't like popular, especially at the time, but I'm saying right now from when this movie's coming out, it feels like a very niche group of people are going to really find the most enjoyment out of this that they are trying to get out of people, and it just didn't work that well for me. They're trying to do a lot of humor with it, and even the cameo itself I felt like could have been executed just a lot better. It just felt very random and like, okay, I guess Kyle Mooney just wanted to go for this here. Maybe he's friend with this person. I don't know. I just thought it could have been a lot better. And again, it's going to be subjective, though, with the humor. Like, I've seen one person already say, as I was just kind of looking when this first came out, that this is one of their favorite movies of the year. It didn't really work for me that well on a lot of levels. Again, some funny moments here and there, but I was never really invested in any of the characters. It wasn't a fun enough movie for me just to take it as it is, as a fun night where crazy shit's going down. And then also what they tried to do with the more serious, I guess if you will, part of the story with this whole Y2K event and where they end up going with this. It was kind of goofy for me in a way that just didn't work as well. I just wasn't feeling it right when I watched this movie, or maybe this just isn't the right movie for me. I'm just not going to enjoy it as much as maybe some others. I haven't really seen the main reaction from this movie, so I don't know how it really did this opening weekend or if people are liking it more than me, but I was hoping to like it a little more, and from everything else I've seen from Kyle Mooney, the stuff he appears in, like he's a pretty funny guy. The character he plays in this movie, it also really didn't work for me much at all either. I just thought I saw what he was going for, but it just was a little too over the top, hitting you on the head with just how his character is in a way. It's just like, okay, I get it. It's just not that funny to me. I don't know. And again, that's just where a lot of this movie is going to rely on with you. And, so if I'm not interested in this romantic kind of relationship they're trying to push with these two leads in here, the two young people in this, and there's a lot of the characters that don't really work for me that well. I'm not that invested in the characters emotionally, or the humor's not really working for me that much. It's going to be hard for me to be invested in the characters when the emotion's not working, the humor's not really working much. That's pretty much my main thoughts. I'm going to give Y2K a 4.5 out of 10. I do think there was a good effort here with this movie. I don't think it's a horrible train wreck of a film, but not a movie that I necessarily want to go visit really anytime soon. It definitely reminds me a lot of the movie Bodies, 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 which I saw at the time. I think a lot of people had a really pretty positive reaction from that movie. That was one that did not work for me much at all either, and I have not gone to revisit and watch that movie at all recently, which I probably should. But at the time, I remember that movie I saw what it was going for, and it just did not work for me at all. This movie kind of brought back similar feelings to that, where I just wasn't on the same wavelength with this movie. I don't think it wasn't working for me on just several different levels, and that's really all there is to it. But what do you guys think? Have you seen this movie? Are you planning to go see it? What do you think? Rachel Zegler, I mean, I still haven't really seen much from her. I know she's in that new Snow White movie coming out this next year. We'll see what happens with that. I still have not seen the movie West Side Story that Steven Spielberg directed, the remake, of course, a few years ago. I really do still want to see that because I really love musicals, so that's one I definitely got to get to. I know I already pretty much finished the review, but with her character, I will say also, she's like playing the very typical popular girl of the movie, and they really try and force the audience to believe that she quickly is friends with all the main friend group we're following in this movie, where it just did not feel natural at all. Like, it did not feel like she actually was liking them all of a sudden and like, oh, everything's good, I'm hanging out with you guys. And there was just a lot of stuff like that with the characters in this movie, where it's like basic ass characters that you see in so many movies before, and just, again, wasn't that interesting. And again, not to go on too long with that, I don't want to be too overly negative with this, again, like it was the worst movie of the year or something. But anyways, yeah, what do you guys think? Leave a like, leave a comment. Hit that subscribe button as well, and follow me on any of my social medias as well. One of the things I really post on there, it will be stuff relating to this channel, so don't really go on social media that much anymore, to be honest, nowadays. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We're looking for more videos very soon, getting back into the flow of things here, posting regularly on here, so I appreciate anyone who supports this channel, as I always say. Yeah, I will talk to you guys later on.